Hi there, welcome to iTWireTV. Today we're talking to Matthew Tumminello, the ANZ Product Marketing Manager for Dynabook. And in particular, we're interested in talking about hyperlight laptops, which allow employees to embrace working from anywhere. Because, just Matthew, less than 6 months ago, it was looking like many workplaces were starting to encourage employees back to the office full time. But this looks like it's now not going to be the case. But due to the continued need for mobility, this is really a perfect time to upgrade business laptops, particularly in light of hybrid working being here to stay. So, I'm certainly interested, Matthew, in, how your current laptop range is designed with hybrid workers in mind.
Yeah, look, thanks. It's an interesting one. We've been around now for building notebooks and since for about 36, 37 years, formerly as Toshiba and now obviously as Dynabook. So we've always been coming up around mobility, and trying to get the best performance and feature rich products that we can. And we've just announced all these great new products. And I'd have to say, this is a very, very strong lineup in terms of what we're providing for all types of workers at the moment. So yeah, we're really happy with it. It's a great range. In fact, that Protege range that we've just refreshed with 12th Gen Intel, it's actually, those three products independently have always either the world's first lightest in those categories or very close to it. So it's an extremely strong lineup now, and you've got 13-inch flips, even 14-inch. Also sitting under 1 kilogram or around that 1 kilo mark, which is quite an engineering feat from our side as well.
Oh, that's terrific. Actually, you mentioned just then the 12th gen processor. So I guess what difference do you see with those compared to 11th generation?
Yeah, as always, with moving from generation to generation, typically we will find they're using less power, they're using smaller pieces of silicon, and they're getting as much, if not more, performance generally. So these ones you're expected to get, and it does vary from user to user because we all use these devices differently. Whether it's having Wi-Fi on all the time or using things like LTE or what screens you run, anything like that. But these ones, basically, you'll get around 20% more productive time out of it and more performance. And, remembering performance that's, is measured in different categories, whether that's just straight grunting power from the CPU or whether that's its ability to switch between, many different applications being open at one time. Or whether it's a graphics sort of thing and, looking how well it processes the graphics depending on what you're doing as well. So, but generally speaking, 20% is a lot, right? So I know it helps when things open 20% quicker or you're able to compute things 20% faster. That's a fair improvement.
That's wonderful. Actually, and before that, when you're talking about the model range, you mentioned 14-inch. So that's pretty amazing. And I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, the new 14-inch Dynabook laptop, the X40LK, is literally just over 1 kilo, 1.05 kilos, and 15.9 millimeters thick. That's remarkable. Can you tell me more about that laptop?
Yeah, look, the Protege X40L, it's obviously a 12th gen product, which is utilizing things like DDR5, which is great for performance. In fact, that DDR5 actually gives you about between 30 and 50% more power as well. So it's pretty substantial. But that one's a real engineering feat. It's actually the lightest one we've ever made, which is fantastic in that 14-inch sort of category. So from us, it's not just weight. It actually has a range of weights depending on the configuration you have. So it can be anything from 950 grams to 1,050, which, as you say, is just over a kilogram. But we'll call it a kilogram, for argument's sake. But yeah, as with all of those things, it's not just weight. It's all the little engineering feats in the background as well as updating it with things like 12th gen. So this one's got 12th gen, it's got Wi-Fi 6E, it's Evo branded from Intel, so we know that it performs really well. It's got Microsoft Secure Core Level 3 attached to it as well in terms of that structure and that performance. So that's all there in terms of security and performance, and that gives them their premium branding. It's got a great new 65-watt battery in it. It's actually got 4 speakers, so 2 tweeters and 2 subwoofers. So, you can go online and you can try out the Dolby Atmos sound. But I have to say that those 4 speakers out of a device that weighs only 1 kilogram, it's actually quite phenomenal. We've been testing it in the office, and it's abundantly clear which machine is playing what music when you do a little comparison. So it actually sounds fantastic. So that's pretty cool. It's got some new biosecurity and features. We've had to redesign the camera. We went from 4mm camera down to 2.2 millimeters. We've been reducing materials while holding its integrity and its chin strength. So we've gone from having 12 screws in the bottom down to 9. But we've been able to maintain our military spec and our whole accelerated life testing, fundamentals as well. So that was a bit of a feat. The click pad's been increased in size substantially, up over 30%. So it just makes it easier to navigate around. What else? Oh, it's got Eyesafe technology in this one. So this will be our first machine with Eyesafe. So you probably know, but I'll just sort of reiterate around Eyesafe. So it's the reduction of the blue light. And the blue light actually, particularly what's even scarier with this one is the blue light in kids under 12. I think they can actually get about 65-70% of that blue light come through as you get older. And I think that may have something to do with your eyesight, maybe going backwards a little bit. But you only end up, I think the figure is once you get over, I think 60 or 65, it's down to about 40%. So, and what it interestingly, that blue light actually reduces the production of melatonin, which disrupts your deep cycle sleep. So it's a really important one. I mean, my boys up until now have been, wearing glasses, just to reduce the amount of screen time and just to reduce those harmful lights. But it's a great step forward when you can hold, again, great colors in a screen, but make it safer.
Yes.
Particularly for young kids. And I think that's a big thing. I mean, for anyone with kids, you certainly want to be protecting their eyes. So that's a great new feature. And look, there's heaps, but because by the way, this is like an 80-page document, so I'm not going to tell you all of the features and all of the engineering feats. I'm just trying to give you the big ones. So the other little one I like in particular is the function keys.
Yes.
Just in terms of the fact we're doing a lot more of this, what we're doing here on Zoom or Teams or other sort of platforms. So they've got some new function keys now, so you can sort of hang up calls, increase volume just in the hotkeys there. So just makes it a little bit easier. So that's a really, really good new feature. And the other one is they've integrated the fingerprint reader and the power button. So it's one button. So it's not actually it's a dual design. So that's a new thing for us. But yeah, like plenty, as you can sort of just hear, plenty of great new features in that machine, as well as being a beautiful electric blue too. So it's a good one. It's a very, very good one.
Yeah, that's exciting. And that Eyesafe, that is particularly interesting. You're right. I remember being as a boy and you sit too close to the TV and my mother saying, don't sit so close to the TV. But now you're exactly right. Office workers, children, everybody, we spend our lives staring at a screen. Sometimes I spend all day looking at my computer and then you go to bed and then you sit there looking at your phone. So it's, often I think we talk about safety in the workplace and, having the right chairs, having the right seats, making sure your posture is right. But then we still just spend all that time staring at a screen. So that's terrific that you've got those built-in mechanisms to help, your eyes are such a valuable asset. That's tremendous to have that protection built in.
Yeah, it's interesting too, by the way. There's more to it with that Eyesafe foundation. So, I mean, it's great that the Eyesafe technology is built in, but they call it like the 20-20-20 rule. So every 20 minutes, look away, let your eyes readjust for at least 20 seconds or so. Have the screens at the right height, at the right distance, because that does make a big difference. I mean, look, the best thing you can do is still not have too much screen time and make sure you go outside and do things like that. But it's nice to know that it's built in. Like I said, my sons up until now have actually been wearing, I've been getting them to wear glasses that just reduce the amount of light. Like I said, the under 12s in particular are particularly susceptible because their lens at the back is still clear.
Still forming.
Still forming. So It does make a big difference. And like I said, as any parent or even for yourself, really, I mean, you just want to look after your body, right? So it's great to have that built in. It's really good. I mean, there's a whole website on it. If you have parents and users should go and have a look and have a read of the information, because it is interesting and certainly something you want to protect yourself from.
Yeah, no, that's terrific. There was something else you mentioned. You talked about how, the military spec, you've been able to retain that military spec, even though all this engineering work to make the laptop smaller and more portable. I guess, how do you do that? How can you make a laptop super thin and super light, but still able to be bashed around and retain military spec?
Yeah, look, before even the military spec came along, I mean, which is all to do with, heat, shock, temperatures, and the evolution of. So these ones all adhere from the G to the H spec, which is basically just a little upgrade on, which they do from time to time, a little upgrade on how it's done. So they're actually, in this example, they'll recycle the temperatures quicker, right? So they'll still go from sort of -4 up to +30, but they do it in a quicker cycle now. So just to sort of, try and see what happens. But yeah, look, it's an interesting one, having, like I said, we got our X30L is only 904 grams. We've got our flip variant, our X30W, now at 989 grams. Now we're talking about this 14-inch machine, which sort of ranges, as I said, between 950 grams and 1,050. So let's just call it a kilo for argument's sake. But building machines like that, it is tougher. So, everyone goes, oh, it's just a little bit lighter. I'm like, well, it's not, because it's actually quite difficult to hold its integrity, as well as add new features and new specs, perhaps, like I said, Wi-Fi 6E, but still have all that structural integrity. We still guarantee all those Techra and Portability products with 3 years. So for us, there's no point in making it thinner if it's not going to, stand the test of time. So there is a lot of work that goes in the background in and around it. So yeah, look, we obviously prided ourselves on that for a long time now, about building great mobile devices, and we have a rich history of all of that. So it keeps our engineers busy. I can tell you that much. I know when we've been designing this product over the last year, there was lots and lots of input from many people. So it's a great showcase of what you can do when you work together as a Dynabook team. So it's good. It's really good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That is good. And actually, talking about that design and engineering, I understand as well that the 14-inch, the Portability X40K has a new premium chassis. What do we mean by premium chassis? What does that mean here?
Yeah, so the X40K, it's our latest generation one. What we've done on this one, though, is, it is sometimes not just about making it strong, but this one is particularly good looking as well. So it's like an aluminium brush finish. Pardon me, it's got like diamond cut edges through it. So I can tell you, when we've put them in a lineup recently, and I'd say inevitably the X40L, okay, because it is one of our latest ones, and people get blown away by the lightweight. But that one and the X40K with its metal chassis, it's extremely good looking, and aesthetics does come into it. And it's just, yeah, it's proved to be a real powerhouse of a product, not just from a looks point of view, but also from, the features which that product has. You can go up to 64 gig of RAM in that product, and
Wow.
I mean, in a notebook. So it doesn't just look good, it performs well as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, that is excellent. And also it's smart, I believe. I understand, the new Dynabook online meeting assist feature is AI in some way. What's that about, and how does it do that?
Yeah, again, I mean, it's a bit like, that's an interesting one for us as well. So it's a little bit like what I was talking about with the function keys before, the way we've sort of added the ability to turn the volume up and down and sort of answer and receive calls very, very quickly. So this is just another little feature. So it's like it's called Dynabook Online Assisted Meetings, or Meeting Assist. And basically you can set the background, lighting correction, face framing and things like that across multiple platforms. So if you want to have, your background concealed in a bit blurry or whatever, rather than having to do that each time you move into the different platforms, you can just set it up at a platform level. And basically you can just turn it on and off and just leave it there, and away you go. So it just stops you having to, like I said, sort of tailor each individual platform. So yeah, it's a good little feature. Certainly, like I said, I use both those things. I think they're great. So yeah, it's good.
That is a great feature. Actually, I can appreciate that. I switch from Zoom to Teams to other things to be able to
Yeah.
do that at the platform level. That's great.
Yeah, I
So
think I'm using about 4 or 5 of them at the moment. So it's nice to be able to just sort of blur the background out in all of them.
yes, excellent. So we've talked about the protege quite a bit, but also I understand, you've also got advancements in the 14-inch and 15-inch Techra A40K and A50K models. What's the Techra model about? So the protege, we understand, but Techra, I guess, what's that about and who are they designed for?
Yep. So we have the Techra A40 and A50, which is indicative of the screen size, so the 14 and 15-inch models. The only difference between Protege and Techra, so Protege is like our premium. It's the one we make all our super lights through. Typically, they'll be in the world first category out of that Protege series. Techra is the same. So, in this instance, it's still running 12th gen. We can still go up to 64 gig. We've got Wi-Fi 6E in it. You can put LTE in it, all those sorts of things. But basically, we just don't build it with all the super light material. So it's still got 3-year warranty, still pass all of the highly accelerated life testing and mil spec testing. It's just that we don't push the weight premium so much. So outside of that, they're fantastic. I mean, they're very, very popular, particularly that 14-inch. The 14-inch these days at 1.4 kilos, really the device seems to be a happy sweet spot for a lot of people. So we find a lot of our customers will buy perhaps a mix of, say, some maybe one of the proteges for executives. The main set of staff will usually get something like our Techra A40 because it still is a robust, fantastic product with all the ports. It's still got LAN ports and USB-C and A and HDMI, so you don't have to carry around dongles and things like that. So yeah, it's a great range. It's just been refreshed. It actually looks really, really good too. So there are lots and lots of people buy that product. Like I said, I think that A40 Premium is really one of our most popular products across the globe as well. So yeah, that's the Techra range, and like I said, it's just been updated as well. So with 12th gen, so expect that 20% more productivity straight away.
Yeah, excellent. Oh, that's wonderful. And, I guess all this points to, productivity and portability, top priorities we're seeing here at iTWire and hybrid working across Australian companies. So, yeah, it's interesting to hear all these things. I guess Dynabook, laptops are really working hard to satisfy that requirement for Australian organisations, aren't they?
Yeah, we are, and we have been for a long time, like I say. So, we basically go into designing these products very early on. So, I mean, we've just announced all these ones, but we're already starting the process for the next range, right? So, we love talking to customers and getting their feedback so we know what they do and don't like and things that are coming up. So you can see in this latest range, we've done exactly what we're talking about in terms of making sure they're very usable, very functional, lightweight, robust, and having all those things in them. So that's where things like that dual design where you've got the power button and the fingerprint reader in one, just to make it simpler, right? Having things like that Dynabook online meeting, so you can set the platforms across everything, making sure you've got plenty of grunt in those devices, like I said. So we do spend a lot of time on it, which is why it's always good to have conversations with people like yourselves as well, right? Because inevitably people go, oh, have you thought about doing this? And I can usually let them know it's in the pipeline, or, yep, that's a great idea. We'll put it into the mix for the next round. So yeah, it is good. And like I said, this range in particular is probably, I'd say, one of our, better ones, particularly in that Protege series, with those 3 platforms being absolutely world-class and industry leading in all 3 of those different Protege platforms. So that's kind of a unique position for us to be in, actually.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Actually, I've got not a confession, I guess a secret, a story. 30 years ago, I worked at the University of Newcastle, and the university was a big Toshiba laptop consumer, and I was issued a Toshiba Satellite Pro. But I remember, we were always, you can tell where I sat in the hierarchy because, there were those who had the nice Techra, and the heads of departments and professors had the Protege, and so I was very envious
Yeah,
of
right.
those. But I had good memories of that equipment. So hearing Dynabook again, talking about Portagé and Techra as you have been over years, reminded me of that. And I guess I'm interested, obviously it's gone from Toshiba to Dynabook. I guess, how do you feel that heritage of that Toshiba laptop brand is continuing to shine through with the launch of these Dynabook laptops, the new range?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. People go, "Oh, what's changed?" That's probably the biggest question we get. What's changed? And fundamentally, outside of the brand, nothing. Like, it's the same people. Like, I could tell you, there's guys in our global product team who have been there, like me, for some 25, 30 years. There's a lot of experience in that team. So it's really just been a top line brand name change, right? Indicative of the change of ownership. But outside of that, the factories are there, the people are there. None of that history's been lost. Guys that were designing the Satellite Pro you used are still there, right? And they're working in new teams and perhaps a new building, but that knowledge hasn't been lost at all. So from that historical perspective, it's great to have no change whatsoever. But from I think, with new ownership and fresh ideas, and it may be a slightly different way of doing stuff, also puts a bit of what I'm going to call sort of just a bit of spice back into the business as well.
Yes.
So it's good to have. So it's been described to me, and I agree with it. It's like working at a 37-year-old startup. So and it is kind of like that. It is kind of like that, right? Just because I guess when you start afresh, you don't have to do the things the way you've always done them. You do the things you did well, and you keep doing those, but you kind of get a bit of a fresh outlook. So I have to say, yeah, all the team here have been loving it, to be honest. We've kept our integrity with our sub brands like Techra and Portagé as well. So that sort of stuff's familiar, and that's not going to go away either. So yeah, look, it's been good to actually have gone through that process too, because I think when you're going through that process, you can be a little bit internally focused. And now there's really been this fresh start of sort of, we can really get back to doing what we do well. And I think this current range is, like I said, it's a great indication of that, because you've basically got 3 of those Portagé platforms that are not only world firsts in terms of things like weight, but they are industry leading, right? Like, they're right in the mix around that. It's a very, very proud lineup. I know the management at Dynabook's very happy with what's being produced in that regard. So, and it makes it good for our sales guys and our users, So for the sales guys, they're easy sell products, right? Like, when you've got the world's lightest sort of products, it makes it easy. But from a functionality point of view, nothing's been lost, and that all that integrity of reliability, having faith in a brand is still there, and our users love that stuff, right? They love that stuff. I can give you some great anecdotes about people who have, I think our failure rate's about 0.3 of 1% at the moment, right? But I can give you some great stories of people who have gone in there and had it fixed, within 20 minutes, half an hour. Because, when you guys are specialists in that mobility area, it makes a difference, Like,
Yeah.
I still get blown away by the way our guys can recall, maybe not just what the issue is, but part numbers and all sorts of stuff. They go, because you know what they do? They do really weird things to me. So you could tell me what Satellite Pro model you have, and I guarantee there's some guys in our business. So I'd ring them and go, "Hey, do you remember this one?" And they'll go, "Yeah, it was a da 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 da," and I'll just rattle off all this stuff, right? So it's kind of fun. It's kind of cool.
That is. That's excellent. And, that speaks well of the business. So you have that longevity of people in there. It speaks well to the company being a great employer, as well as, innovator, manufacturer of these hyperlight laptops. That's wonderful to hear.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's not just in the product marketing team either, by the way. Like, you could say that about the marketing team, technical teams. There's guys in and around the business who've been there a long time and have a wealth of knowledge. So there's plenty of new people too, which is great to see the new era coming through. But it's nice to have that mix. It's like a good football team. You need some experience and you need some youth as well.
Yes, that's very true. Well, that's been fantastic. No, I've enjoyed that, Matthew. That's been wonderful. That's really helped me understand the Dynabook range. I'm impressed by, the hyperlight capabilities, but also the engineering effort that's gone into it, and the power and the functionality. I think, really in this day of hybrid working, absolutely, this is an awesome time to upgrade laptop, and these Dynabook models you've talked about sound tremendous.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it. Yeah, they're great, fantastic. We have to get you some in your hands and have a bit of a try of some of those features.
Yeah, gladly. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much. So I've been talking to Matthew Tumminello, ANZ Product Managing Marketer, ANZ Product Marketing Manager, sorry, for Dynabook. Thank you so much, Matthew.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.